Yeah, Beth, is your husband, does he do website code or just regular? I mean, or other types of code? Who knows, huh?
I mean, he does not create websites,
Oh, okay.
but he does code the like front end website for his company sometimes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I know there's different coders, but
Why
I've
do you
spent the
like
day
website or
today
something?
trying to get a Google map to get up on my website. It's almost there, but it has gray blocks in the middle of it.
Are you is it your website for Chamber or your personal website or what?
Chamber, yeah.
Is it like a regular website? Is it a WordPress website or is it hosted? Oh, I could
WordPress.
help you with that probably.
Okay. I'll reach out to you after this.
I do WordPress
Okay, cool.
for the church, and then for my catering business, I did my own website too.
Okay.
Yeah.
This one has a custom theme though. So
yeah,
you
we have a custom theme at the church.
You do as well?
Mhm.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, hit me up.
Give it another minute or so here.
You're gonna count us down like New Year's Eve?
I don't know that that's that exciting. I don't know if I'm as excited as I was to get through 2020. And I don't usually make it up till New Year's Eve.
Well, you just watched the East Coast at 10 o'clock.
That's what I do.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine.
All right. Well, it's 5:45. Should we go ahead and get started here? Okay. Go ahead, Debbie.
Hi. Okay, so Chair Reese Adams,
Present.
Vice Chair Leah Beth Cole,
Present.
Lee Sambler,
Here.
David Carroll,
Here.
Martin Gilmore,
Here.
Mark Hessling,
Here.
we have Council Member Cheryl Wink, and excused, we have Julie Parker. Staff, we have Director Christina Underhill, Library and Cultural Arts Manager Mark Mullis, and Event Supervisor Tony Arnoldy. And we have had a couple.
Great.
Okay,
Thank you.
so we've had Amanda Wolf has joined us now, and Britt Fields. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Debbie. All right, let's move to the approval of the minutes. We had a very content-heavy meeting last time. I can't believe it's already been a month. I feel like I'm still processing that meeting. But talked about a lot of stuff: arts plan, budgets, Swedish horses, pop-ups. I don't know if anybody wants to make a comment on this or not. Otherwise, we'll get a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you.
And who seconded?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, thanks, Claire.
Thanks. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, thank you. So next, I believe we have some public comment, as Debbie mentioned. So we are limited to about 3 minutes. So I'll turn it over to, I think, Amanda and Britt.
Hi there. I'd like to introduce Amanda, and thank you for having us. Nice to see you all. So before I introduce Amanda, I'd like to also mention that there are just a couple business pieces to answer your question, Reese, about some formalities around the kind of questions about insurance for the project. And if there's anyone who is on now that wasn't here last month, we're talking about that second phase mural in the Little Dry Creek Trail, just west of Santa Fe, between Santa Fe and the South Platte River Drive. So basically, we're working with the youth city of Englewood middle school and high school students, and we're working on that mural canvas just on the south wall, that concrete wall. So, and I just will take a moment to say, to answer a question that Reese had earlier on about some of the concerns around the insurance, kind of just checking the boxes on permission forms and that kind of thing. And so this may be old news. It's a question that I have for Reese is, would you like to have the forms and kind of all of the information that I find out from the school district regarding permission forms, background checks, and also insurance?
No, I don't think that's necessary. I think my question was really who was going to, I guess, own and then facilitate the project. Because I think my initial concerns were that if it was going to be the CAC, I wasn't sure how that was going to flow. But if it is in fact the district and everything has been vetted that way, then I think that those boxes will probably be checked on their side.
Okay, all right. I just know that was a question earlier on. So yes, it is being held there, and just wanted to double check if anyone had any questions around that piece. Otherwise, I can really introduce Amanda Wolf, the artist who you've recognized many of her pieces throughout the city. And we're so grateful to have her help in collaborating on this project. So I guess it's really just a quick snapshot of like, if there are any questions for Amanda, to kind of hand it over to Amanda. And thank you so much for having us.
Cheryl had her hand up. Reese,
Yeah.
did you?
Yeah, Cheryl, go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Leah Beth. Yeah, thank you, Britt. I actually still have a question about where this fits in, like where in the city you were hired to implement this and where it fits in with the strategy. I have no knowledge of it, so I've spoken with Mayor Olson and Manager Lewis, and I still actually have zero understanding of where this fits in our master plan. And even just this Monday, some of you already know, we reviewed again where we are with the wayfinding and placemaking and that whole project. And much of that, of course, will align with Cultural Arts Commission. Like, I see that clear alignment, but I don't understand this. So it might just be me, but I still have a big gap in understanding of sort of how it fits in there, kind of, because you do mention the city of Englewood, but I don't see the alignment. So forgive me if I'm just the only one in the dark, but I still don't understand that piece. Thanks, guys.
And I'm happy to answer that, and also Amanda, if you have some thoughts around that. This is a project that was in a beautification and safety initiative that was really born out of conversations with the Parks Department in the summer of 2020 and really evolved from the opportunities that CDOT had said, yes, it's possible. We had funding. And so we checked the boxes that in terms of permission, it seemed like that's the direction that we were going. And it was able to, it seemed like it was like the opportunity was there. And so we went for it. Now, as Cheryl, you and I had a chance to talk a bit.
Yeah, and I'm still confused. So,
Okay.
do you mind just a quick clarification? I'm saying this here now because maybe I'm the only one, or maybe there are others in Cultural Arts Commission of the core group members that can help my lack of understanding. So this is a Parks and Rec project that CDOT is funding. You said CDOT approved, said yes, there is funding. Is that what I just heard?
No, there was funding actually through the Colorado Parks Foundation. And then I had walked the corridor with Tim. And we were able to come up with some ideas, and also with the city Parks and Rec, and also with conversations and work alongside the Mile High Flood District and with CDOT approval. So these were all kind of the boxes that I checked in terms of like, does this make sense? And can we do this? And there was just a clear line of sight. It was like, yeah, this makes sense. This is a good idea. And the one thing that I didn't take into consideration was at the time, there was no comment or knowledge of a wayfinding project, not until about August. At that time, I did a survey, and it was maybe even after the project was approved through the entities that I went through. And then, just a side note, I did have a conversation with Dave Lee, Christina Underhill, and the Public Works Department to make sure that, you know, we're in alignment with the vision going forward. Does this sync? Is this the right thing to do? We have MOA, you know, supporting the project, and it's all approved. And if, as I said to you, Cheryl, if there is somebody else outside of Sean Lewis that I need to speak to, because I did get an email and he did refer me to the parks as well as to the Public Works. So I feel like we're really in sync. I feel like what would really help is to go to a study session with the council so that we're all on the same board, because I feel like that's the gap. That might be just the one piece moving forward into phase 3 that we're missing.
No, when I talked to Sean 2 weeks ago, he was very confused.
Yeah, since our conversation, we've had a chance to clarify, and I've really asked a couple people. It's like, does it make sense to get another focus group together to see, you know, what's the vision of this corridor? How does it fit with wayfinding? How does it fit with the South Platte River Working Group and the awesome projects that are going to happen on that river in the next couple of years? So I can hit pause on that and we can circle back around, but I'd love to hear what you think, Cheryl, about a conversation to the study group, to the city council, you know, work like study session, or if there's another route that you think we ought to go.
Christine, I think I saw your hand up.
Yeah, I just want to fill in a little bit here. So Councilmember Wink, we did share with Britt the color palette for the wayfinding that was approved. So that would be the color palette for the murals going up on the wall. We'd follow that. In conversation with Britt and others, this area gets tagged constantly, and we're constantly, as Amanda Wolf may testify, during her project, it was tagged nearby. And so ultimately, this wall is just a canvas for, unfortunately, bad graffiti. And so in partnership with the schools, we thought it's a nice opportunity for not only to be an art project, but a conservation project. There'll be a river cleanup involved with this. And it seemed like a nice opportunity where we may not address that wall through any wayfinding or placemaking in the future. And it seems to be forgotten many times. So even with Amanda's mural going up, all of a sudden you notice that pathway along the Little Dry Creek that many people didn't even know existed. So that's just a little background. We met with Maria DeAndre with Public Works this week to check out the area to make sure we can move forward properly. We are checking on a few other property ownership in that area to make sure it is City of Inglewood's. And if it's not, we'll get the correct approval to move forward.
Yeah, thank you, Christina. So yeah, I was confused whether this was born out of an RFP or where it came from. And then, yeah, so if we're talking just about one mural in that area, that seems clear to me. It's that the conversation seems to morph into far more than that. And then that confuses me because it overlaps with existing planning and funding. And so I get a little bit lost in some of that, but
and I'm very glad.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Britt, one moment.
No, go ahead.
Christina, thank you for mentioning the public spaces, because I did talk with Sean about that too, because I mentioned some of the spaces that Britt had brought up where she wanted to do work around the city in the gateway areas. And a lot of that is indeed public space, and there have to be a series of approvals to do anything, right? To touch any of those public surfaces. So I'm glad that you mentioned that, Christina, that you're looking into what might need to be done there.
Yeah, and just to mention too, I mean, this is the beginning of a very long-term project. Obviously, a lot of work's been done on the South Platte. There's a lot more work to do, and this feeds into that trail system. So, you know, beautifying it right now, it may be 5-10 years down the road where we actually see more development happening. So to me, it's like the little wins that we can get now to beautify an area, to make it nice, and draw attention in a positive manner. And that's Britt's vision, and what she shared in the past of, you know, there's a bigger project, a bigger piece to this whole system. And this mural is a way to connect kids to our rivers and corridors to eventually hopefully have buy-in when they're adults. They'll care about our river systems and trail corridors.
Yeah, and I'd
Thank you.
love to tail off of that and quickly just introduce myself to the group, say hello, and thank you for having me. But I did want to just, really just echo everything that Christina and Britt have been saying around just the vision of why this is happening. And I did receive the color palette, and that will absolutely be the design, will be integrated with your wayfaring project as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing that all come together.
Thank you. I want to be cautious of time here, but does anyone have any other comments? Clarice, oh, sorry, there you are.
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to voice my overall support of the project. I think that, regardless, have to make everything fit together to make it cohesive, make sure no toes are being stepped upon. Utilizing students and their creativity and their excitement and their passion to create an ongoing generative project is a brilliant idea, and it definitely is something that I'm in support of.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks for having us. And we do have a time on the agenda next month, and so we'll come prepared to share the rough draft, I guess, Amanda, right? Is there anything else that you'll want us to come prepared with outside of the sketch or the plan for the mural? Anyone?
Just the design's probably good.
At that point, we may not have a finalized design, but we'll at least have a vision board will have been co-created with the students, as well as some sketches. So there's going to be some options.
Okay.
Excellent.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
And lastly, I'll just say if anyone is interested in creating a conversation or having a conversation around what this is going to, the potential for the future, we'd love to include you. It's just a matter of kind of collaborating on that further. So I love that there's a vision for it. So I think that's exciting. I want to hear what it is. Thank you all. Appreciate it. Have a good night.
Thanks.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Okay, let's see here. Let me get onto the. All right, next up is, let me get out of this view here.
Can I talk about that for a second before we move on?
Yeah.
Logistically, like, it seems, Cheryl, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like there's not like a whole large bridge between the project and city council. And I mean, while they can bring designs to us and everything, I think that those details should probably be worked out before next month.
Thanks,
Right?
Lee Beth. Exactly.
I mean, it's like, it
Yeah.
seems like they're just like throwing the idea at us, but, and I get, Christina, that Parks and Rec is on board, but it seems like from Cheryl's perspective, there's a lot of disconnect. So I'm just kind of wondering what the deal is with that, and I don't know.
Yeah, I'll thank you, Leah Beth, for saying that.
Yeah.
I just figured I'd stop talking tonight, and what I'll do, of course,
I understand, yeah.
yeah, I'll you know, I've written my notes down, so I'll talk with the mayor and with Sean again, because yeah, just until recently, there's just, when I look at the plan, especially the bigger plan, it really it does overstep plans already in place, and it's, yeah, it's not clear, and it doesn't feel aligned, just as you said, Leva. So I'll certainly share back with council these pieces, and then but I think before then I'll have that other conversation with them, and be sure that that we connect with you and with Reese after those conversations, so that you can keep abreast of where we are with those. But thank you for bringing that up.
So does their project encompass more than just the one mural that was initially discussed like last month?
They want to do a series of murals on overpasses all along the path. Like, it's a continual project that they want to do. And I think that's maybe not a problem, but where the confusion lies. You know, they did one and they're like, let's do all of them. And so it's like, oh, hold on, wait a second. So
Yeah,
that's where I am. That's how I feel about it, at least.
Yeah, my understanding was it was just the one, so I did not realize that.
yeah.
Little Dry Creek needs absolute, that little spot is definitely ripe for, you know, as you said, I think Clarice, right? We've seen that spot in the history of it. But when you, and the conversation tends to evolve in different settings, which also kind of confuses and concerns me.
Yeah, that's what
I'm like, what are these objectives? They don't seem to stay consistently. And when I looked at the whole plan, it really conflicted with what the city of Englewood's doing. So when I hear, oh, it's been approved by all these people, when it hasn't come by council in that way, and when Sean and Linda don't speak to it as if it's that way, then I'm just a little hesitant. So
Tim?
Oh, sorry. I didn't hear that. Yeah, I was just gonna say, you know, from the museum's perspective and sponsoring this project, we're sponsoring this specific phase. I know that Britt presented the slide deck last time at the meeting, and she's broken it down into phases. So I'm not sure what the future holds, but you know, this particular phase is what we were looking at as a community-based art project. From the wayfinding plan that I know of, you know, after sitting on the committee, I'm not sure that particular area within that phase is part of that. Future phases maybe, but that's just our perspective. So I think, yeah, if council is concerned about this, you know, long-term project and all the different phases, there should probably be a conversation there, and maybe you know, Christina can help facilitate that with council, with Britt.
Yeah, thank you. Christina, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I was just gonna add, Britt has a lot of ideas, and we've, asked her to give us a list, not only for murals and art, but just trail improvements throughout the Little Dry Creek area and South Platte. And so ultimately what we've asked her to do is hone in on one specific project. And this is the one she's picked up, but in her conversations, she likes to kind of give the bigger picture, which kind of is confusing as to what direction we are going. From my understanding, and based off the conversation we had with her this week, it is a mural on that south wall. We didn't talk about any overpasses or anything of that nature, because the wayfinding and placemaking is going to be identifying those and what's going to go there. I had a conversation today regarding medians and art that could go on the medians, which, like the grass when you enter Inglewood from Denver, those type of things. And we want everything to come before you, for you all to say, yes, this fits into not only the wayfinding plan, but the vision that the CAC has. And so the goal would be for any future project to bring it back and have a process. We're going to talk about guidelines tonight briefly. And that's part of this, is having a plan in place. So if you have an artist come to you and they have this great idea and we all like it, then it moves on to the next step. And so defining what that's going to look like. So like I said, the Parks Department gets a lot of ideas thrown at them, and the feasibility of them doesn't always work. And a lot of times we just say no. This one we brought to you earlier on in hopes that we'd be able to get some direction before it moved. But I think the implementation for this project, the way they've been talking, at least Britt, it's in May. We may have to say it's going to be a summer project, because I have no opposition to bring it to council and talk about this. It's a matter of figuring out the full vision of what Britt really wants to implement. But I think it's a good idea with the school district. I think that's a really great plan to work with students. But beyond that, there's a lot of bridges literally to cross when implementing something of this nature.
May I ask a quick question? And Reese, I know we're trying to be cognizant of time. Christina, and we don't have to discuss all of it. Maybe yes and no, or no would be great for now.
Sure.
Do you understand the complete details in terms of funding when Britt's talking about has already been funded? Because what I understand about it is, well, do you?
No.
Yeah.
Not completely. I know MOA has agreed to help with this, but
Yes.
beyond that, the
Okay.
long-term vision, I'm not sure of.
Thank you.
Kyle?
I've heard Britt talk about this with another group I'm part of, and my understanding was that she was trying to write some grants.
Yeah, I've understood that the funding is secured already, which is why I asked the question.
And based on a meeting from a couple weeks ago that she was on, I did not think the funding was secure, and she was asking for help with writing those grants from other members of that group.
I think David Carroll was saying something.
I was just going to say.
I said,
go ahead.
based on the other meeting I was part of, she was asking for help to write those grants. So my understanding was that she was still in the process of securing fundings.
What did you say, David?
I was just going to say, I would second what you guys were saying, in that it seems clear there hasn't been a process, because I would say I'm still confused and how this all came to everything. So if we are going to talk about a process, I think that would be helpful, because I think I would raise my hand to say it's just as confusing for me as well.
Thank you for saying that.
I think along with what Christina said with going through guidelines, I've cautiously volunteered myself to take a stab at creating a more formal application process, because there are so many departments that can be involved, but also I don't want a citizen to get the impression that something is approved and because they've talked to one unit or another, and then they start running with it, and then we're 3 months into it and nobody knows what the heck's going on.
Thank you, Reese. That is very well put. Thank you.
Yeah. So, and actually, the city of Palo Alto has some pretty good public formal requests that I'm kind of working off of. So anyway, all right. Anything else we want to get under our belts for this particular topic, or do we feel good about moving on?
We can move on.
Let's do it. Okay, so for our new business, the election of the vice chair. Well, we were advised this last week that Leah Beth has termed out of her role as a vice chair. There are, I think, only two subsequent or two back-to-back terms that one can serve, and she is up.
They're
But
forcing me
before we
out,
move
guys. They're forcing me out.
I know. Before we get to the
I'm not
election
leaving
part,
you guys.
though,
Don't worry.
I know, that's what I was gonna say. I first of all, thank you, Leah Beth, for all of your work. I know you're not going anywhere, but you do an excellent job of checking me and checking everyone for that matter. So we anticipate that you'll continue doing that. But getting to the actual election, do we have anybody who would like to nominate or volunteer for this particular role? David?
I would like to nominate Clarice, if she's willing to do it.
I would be willing to do it.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, well, I think we should take a vote. Motion to take a vote. Yeah.
We need a second.
We need a second on that nomination.
I'll second your nomination.
Yeah. Everybody else that didn't want to get nominated.
Kyle, I think you were going to say that too. I think we should all just say it at once.
You're like, hurry, get that in before I get nominated. Yeah. Okay. So now I think we can vote.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. Well, congratulations, Clarice. Looking forward to working with you.
Yay, that's exciting. Thank you so much.
Yeah, great. Okay, and again, thanks, Leah Beth.
Yeah, thank you. Leah Beth. I will be looking to you for advice in the future.
I'm here for you.
Okay, so we're going to review the art in public places guidelines, and we're also going to review the current municipal code, because who doesn't love municipal code? Last meeting, all of this kind of stuff with Britt has sort of come up, and then I got into a rabbit hole about looking at what selection guidelines look like, and then Tim mentioned the code. And so we've kind of gone down this path for a little while. I think I emailed both of these documents out to everyone so they had them in advance. I guess first, Christina, did you want to make some comments on this before we go through it?
I think the biggest comment I want to make is this is going to help not only staff, but you all down the road. The application process that Reese, you've been looking at, these guidelines, even the municipal code, the wayfinding plan will help guide staff and the CAC moving forward. Because right now we don't have a ton of guidance as to, what can be done. And that's where we're running into situations like we have now of there's good ideas out there, but there has to be a process in place. So I'm not sure when these guidelines were created. They're a good start. They do need to be updated, even looking through it. We'd like your feedback on how you want to update this. Does it make sense? What are your ideas for the guideline process? So there are some procurement issues in here. If, they're a certain dollar amount, we've got to go out to a bid process. If it's small, like the Swedish horse project, we don't have to go out to bid for that. So I don't know what the easiest way to do, if you just want to run through it and everyone makes comments, or you can all send comments in and we can update it based off of comments received.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think to be able to go through it and just make your own comments if you have some. Feel free to send them to me and I can compile them and then send them off to Christine and we can talk about it maybe next meeting. I did have one question actually on this, and Debbie, can you scroll down just a little bit more for me? I think it was the subcommittee section that I wasn't very clear on. Yes, the selection committee section. Does anyone know when something like this would come into play where we would have a subset to look at? David, you're nodding. Leah Beth, can you help me understand this better?
So part of that would be if we were going to acquire a permanent piece of work, let's say like the grasses that are in the Broadway there, that big grass sculpture that I don't know what we at one time, I have it in my notebook, how much that costs. But knowing that we were going to commission something that would be placed, or wherever that would be placed, you would have this group to review those commissions.
Okay, so it's going to be for like large scale, more expensive type commissions, not for necessarily our smaller projects. Or
I think it mainly is focused on things that we want to commission. Like if we have a RFP out for something we want done, then we would have to have this committee.
Okay. Yep.
We wanted to decide and place it ourselves. Like we want this, we want to not have grass anymore. We want to put something else there. We would have to have that committee to make that decision.
Okay, and that's what I figured. It doesn't really necessarily specify that, but.
And I think you may change that because as you had mentioned, it is very vague, right? And so it probably doesn't provide that kind of guidance that maybe you're searching for. And so that may be an area, but that was my understanding is that was the intent of this, is when you were commissioning a piece to be wherever it was. I think the last one that was commissioned was that piece over by the river.
Yeah. The spire.
You were part of that before I got here.
Yeah.
But it would, if you had all of these members on that, the idea would be that your selection would be well thought out.
Yeah.
Because
okay.
you would have parks, you'd have visual artists, you'd have council member, and you would have all of those folks.
Great, that makes sense.
You might, you could very well say that something like this could be done for what Brett is doing. I mean, that you would have those approval processes ahead of time and you would know what that was at. But I think that's what
we didn't ask her to do it.
You're right.
So that would be the difference, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think that's what you're getting at, right? Is in part, there's probably some stronger processes that can be in place.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Did anybody have any other comments or questions about this while we have it up?
If you scroll down to number 3, it says term. We probably should define that a little bit better, whether it be a contract or the acquisition of the art. So think about that one also, of what that term could be in the art world.
Thank you. Tim? And
yeah,
friend?
This is Millie, sorry, she's a needy girl. Has to be on my lap if I'm here. Yeah, in terms of, like best practices for a selection committee. So like, if you look at the city of Denver, they have what's called PAC, which is a public art committee. And they are, members of the larger commission. And then the PAC brings in exterior folks or peripheral folks in the community, like neighbors that would be in proximity to a project, or other artists who are familiar with public art process, stuff like that, engineers. But I had a question about the deaccession line was all crossed out. So I was curious, because most of these guidelines do include some sort of deaccession plan.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Reese.
I was gonna say, it was only crossed out because we actually have a more updated deaccession plan that will need to be included alongside of this. So yeah, it looks like there have been documents that are just kind of taken place not very harmoniously.
Got it.
This document was from about 10 years ago, I think. So yeah. So it needs to be updated some more.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll take a stab at this too, and then I would just ask all of you to just read it and in your best background that you have for this kind of stuff, look at it and see what you think that we need to clarify, add, delete. The other portion to this, and I don't know, Debbie, if you have it or not, but is the municipal code that Tim mentioned last meeting. I don't know if you guys have read that, but the municipal code basically only references not allowing art with like gang or criminal activity references. I was like, did Englewood have like an organized crime issue like in the 90s or something when this was like probably first developed?
Cheryl and Tim both have their hands up, so obviously something was going on.
Yes, this is crazy.
Like, wait a second. Yes.
Yes. Cheryl, sorry, go ahead.
Yes, the very simple answer is very much yes.
Okay.
Thanks. I'll let Tim go first.
I was going to defer to you, but so for those of you who may not know, there was kind of a big legal issue, quite a few years ago with the Headed West Head Shop on Broadway.
Oh,
they
yeah.
have the mural of Alice in Wonderland on the side. There was a lot of community input and struggles with that one, and I believe that did go to the Colorado Supreme Court. And so out of that came this policy within the municipal code. And it was my understanding that the city didn't want to police murals other than for gang related sort of stuff. Is that accurate, Cheryl?
Yes.
Councilmember Wink, sorry.
Please call me Cheryl. So yes, and along with what Tim said, the city wants to not put a lot of parameters around what cultural arts may want to investigate and welcome or consider. So it's left that broad. Yes, the specification looks kind of funny, but for the reason Tim mentioned, and the choice is not to put parameters on you. And I actually spoke with the acting city attorney about this particular language after the last meeting, and he confirmed that. So if you, however, want something changed, certainly we'll be happy to consider it. So don't let that stop you if you want to see something changed.
I was looking at various cities around the country at their municipal codes, because who doesn't read municipal code in their free time? And actually the one that I found that I thought was probably the best was actually Golden. And they include in their municipal code a lot of information about the public art selection criteria, but it's still vague in that it doesn't necessarily call out references to like organized crime or gang activity, but it does like kind of generally say it needs to be compatible with the design and the location, appropriate materials, very general, but at least it provides something. Oh, Cheryl, go ahead.
David had his hand up.
Oh, it's David.
Yeah. Thanks.
Oh, thanks, guys. And I think, Cheryl, you answered that question. That if we wanted to suggest a code that had a little bit more stringent, I understand opening it up, but I think there have been some suggestions, specifically with the Budweiser mural that's on the side, have been a lot of comments. And so maybe there might be something that could limit a mural that would be a direct advertisement or promotions.
Yeah, that one definitely threw me for a loop when I saw it for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So David, you're right. I think, given your Team Cultural Arts Commission is looking right now, specifically looking at developing a process that helps people make suggestions and a thorough process enough for you to kind of be that when it comes to city art, right? So you can vet and look at the necessary metrics and parameters and context. You are the ones that liaise with council and with the city in terms of the plans. And so that to me is the right avenue. And given you're developing this process, maybe it's a nice time, along with what David said, to think of maybe adding some of those lines into municipal code where it's pretty put in concrete, so that anyone can reference it at all time and know that this is Englewood Municipal Code. It's not really something to be bypassed. So yeah.
Fair. Good point. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Anything else on this topic?
Are you gonna share this to us via email? Can we get a copy of it that's like a Google Doc so we can all make comments to it? What's kind of the plan?
I emailed this out like about a week ago, I think, with an I think there should be some attachments with this and the municipal code. But I can send it back out, and I'll actually include the link for a couple of the other cities that I have found who have, I think, fairly decent municipal code verbiage.
You don't need to send it out just because I missed it. I don't know how I did.
Clarice, the subject line was art in public places.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll go back. Oh, I have it. I
Not
have
the
it.
most descript subject line, I have to say. I'm kidding. But yeah, that included everything.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome.
Reese, do we have just one quick one? Do we have and maybe Cheryl can answer this. Do we have a sense of the process? I mean, if we come up with a suggestion,
Yes.
I'm guessing, do we kind of understand it has to be first vetted by someone and then goes to city council on that, or that's something we probably still need to investigate?
Yes. No, actually, Debbie, I hate to put you on the spot, but I don't have that email up that you sent to me when I asked what that process looks like. Could you just give a quick overview? You have it?
And so I don't have the email like handy. And Cheryl and Christina, you can correct me if I'm incorrect on any of this, but would it go through like community development, just because they do oversee zoning, and the Cultural Arts Commission would work with like community development on that, and then it would be taken to city council for review.
Okay. I mean, that sounds great. If we kind of have understand how the process may move forward, then that'd be great.
Yeah, Debbie, that's exactly what your email says. I have it. I got it pulled up.
Perfect. Thanks.
Good job. All right.
I have something to say.
Yeah. Hey, Martin.
So this seems like a thing to revamp. I mean, it's good to have everybody like make comments on it, but maybe is there a subcommittee put together of a couple of people that can like rehash this whole thing and kind of compile it before bringing it? That seems like a more efficient way of doing this. I mean, I know you're doing the work, but does that make sense?
Yeah.
I would second that, Martin.
Yeah.
I agree.
That sounds like a good idea.
Just because that's kind of how we've approached the other initiative things that we've worked on, is have kind of people who lead that, and then I think that would help us stay organized with this whole thing. And I would be willing to do it in April.
Well, I mean, it's March, so
yeah, March is no good for me. April is
it's
good.
only a month away that you'd be available.
Yeah. And I mean, this is stuff that I feel like ever since I joined the commission, we've been talking about the deaccession plan and all of this. So, I'd be more than happy to help work on this. I just can't do it this month. I can't get it going this month.
Well, I mean, I'm happy to take any comments and edit the doc and kind of go back and forth with you about it. And
I think like the subcommittee's job would just be to figure out the process and just to make a list, like if we have like who we need to check with, where we need to go, like it could be a guide for the people who would want to do it too. And so it would be like if we were the ones trying to get a piece of art and compile all that together. I don't know. I see a lot of ways to do it, and I'm totally willing to do it in April.
Well, I don't know. It's been sitting like this for a while, so if we wait another month, I don't know that it's necessarily the worst thing. So
that's kind of how I feel about it too. It's not like, well, we have this project and it's waiting in the wings until we make these decisions.
Yeah. Maybe we take the next month, digest what's going on here, look at kind of some of our other docs, and then let's regroup next month and we'll put it on the agenda.
Yeah. Everybody can put their comments
good to
on
me.
this. And, okay, cool.
Okay.
So maybe let's email everybody once a week to remind them to look at this document. I'm kidding. People are laughing though, because they know it's true.
Everybody look at that municipal code. Okay, anything else? I think that's
Just a little light reading.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a Saturday night. I mean, what else are you guys doing?
I know. Nothing. All right, sounds good. I think we can move on probably from this then. Thanks, everyone. Let's see here. Okay, so just wanted to kind of quickly talk with Tony about meeting with Grow Plus Gather. She was able to meet with George and in our last meeting. I think Martin, maybe it was you, said like, let's maybe think about some pop-ups, and then we kind of had tossed it around a little bit, and Grow Plus Gather has tried to do some farmers markets. So A, I wanted Tony to kind of give an update on that meeting, and then B, there's been a couple of people who've expressed interest in kind of this pop-up concept. So I think that's another opportunity for kind of a small working group to sort of like take it from here. Tony, how about I turn over to you if you have any updates that you want to provide?
Sure, of course. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. So I also was able to meet with Leah Beth briefly this week too. I did meet with George and Sydney from Grow and Gather, and they are very interested in having farmers markets again this year. They are looking at doing it twice a month for a span of 3 months, I think. And we talked about ways that we could work together and possibly collaborate on that. And also there have been other interests from other businesses around town that would like to have a farmer's market or support a farmer's market or sponsor it, however you want to say it. So a lot of information coming in. I'm doing a lot of research. I talked to Christina earlier today and told her what I was up to and looking at, and I was excited to come tonight because I would be very interested in hearing from all of you what direction you are looking to take on this, or what role CAC wants to play in the farmers markets if they happen, and just make sure that it's a group venture. And I really think it's something that we can definitely get going in our city, but I just want to make sure that I'm including all the right people and following the right guidelines and stuff. So really I have a little bit of information, but I'm really looking to get feedback from you all.
I think our initial thought was maybe we can use an existing event like Grow Plus Gather and kind of piggyback off of it for maybe something a little bit bigger and more interesting, especially if we get past like Memorial Day, where people feel more comfortable and probably interested in doing some socialization. We might be able to kind of get some quick wins as far as exposure, and we're not looking to do something, I don't think, so big that's going to take a lot of planning, but kind of just start gradually to see where it goes. I don't know if there's like a larger vision for a farmer's market, and I don't know that we've necessarily thought about what our role would be within that. I mean, maybe everybody has an opinion, but I think for the immediate, it was just kind of, let's maybe partner with somebody, especially like, a local business like Grow Plus Gather that's had probably a very difficult time over the last year, to anything that we can do to help support a business and draw more attention there. And then, just have a little fun. I don't know if anybody has any comments about it. Martin, I don't know if your vision, but
it's just something that I wanted to see happen, and I don't want to end up in competition with somebody else who wants to do it. I'd rather just support. If somebody else in the community wants to do it, then I think we should be there to support it. That's kind of so. If Grow and Gather wants to do it, then I think we should figure out ways to support that event.
definitely how I feel about it too. Why reinvent the wheel when somebody else is already doing it? I think we want to, while we want to support a business in the area, we also want to be able to make it available to those artists that we are in connection with as well, to be able to maybe have a booth or just a small vendor area that they might not have otherwise. And I think that was part of the reason we wanted to do this, is to kind of give everyone a little bit more exposure without having to plan our own event.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So go ahead, David.
I was just going to say, and Tony, you might, I mean, Martin was really successful with the pop-up concerts in most places. There was a couple that didn't work out for us, but
right.
for the most part. And I don't know if you guys agree with this, but I thought what I was hearing you say as well, and we know that George did that at his farmers markets, is he did have musicians. And so that might be a way that, as you're talking to others, that we could support one of the Fridays or Saturdays, or I don't know when he does it. I think he does it on the weekends, right? To support that farmers market is sponsor or support musicians there as well. So,
and that was one thing that they did add, that they very much wanted that element at their market.
Yeah.
So they're very all in on that, and I think that, if other businesses pop up and want to have some type of market, I think that that's a great value to every market.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And could surely, I mean, I know, Martin, you had the little sandwich board. We could have the band, whatever, if that works with and just have our sandwich boards there, and you could let people know that this was being supported by CAC, and so that would be our element within. And to your point, I know that I think there's some other talk about arts and craft market even behind, or to your point, there's a lot of people coming up with maybe some fun stuff. So as you're talking to them, maybe that could be the connection, Tony, as we could help provide some entertainment, some live entertainment, and have some musicians get paid too.
Yeah.
Maybe that I'm sure are struggling.
That's amazing.
That sounds like the most practical way of us supporting it immediately, because we already have stuff planned in that regard, so we can just merge those things.
Okay. So maybe a good takeaway then is Leah Beth, Martin, I think Kyle, you might be interested too in some of these kind of pop-up planning.
Yeah, I would love to support any sort of events, and even just now I was trying to kind of put together what was going on, just because I feel like not having been in the loop on everything. But yeah, it'd be so cool to have music, or I guess like in this case we would be planning music twice a month then for this farmers market, or sponsoring it and either coordinating the artist, or they would be providing the artist and then we would just provide the money. Is that kind of how this type of event would work, out of curiosity?
Probably coordinate the artist too, right, Martin? Yeah.
I think if we're given the money, we should have a say in who it is.
Yeah. Yeah, just not so sure yet on all those things.
Oh yeah, no, please ask questions. I completely understand how it is to come into a group and be like, what are you talking about? So ask any questions you want. I think Reese, our next step would probably be for me to coordinate a meeting between George and Sydney, and then me, Martin, and Kyle, if we can get everyone on a Zoom and just kind of say like, what's our next step? How do we kind of remain involved with you guys without, we don't want to take over. We just kind of want to add to what you're already doing.
Right.
Does that sound right, Tony and Reese?
Yeah. And two, I would want to know too, the commitment, like, are we providing music every time or only once, depending on how often they're doing this farmers market? I think you said twice a month was their vision.
Their vision right now is twice a month between July and October. Every month between July and October.
Yeah. And the other question is too, like, it might be one where it's like music one of the times during that month, and then maybe it's like a craft or kid activity table, because I know those are really big at a lot of farmers markets, where they have like art tables for children and families to go explore. So that might be something else we'd want to think about, or something along those lines. I don't know. Or maybe just music, because that's like enough
And I think it
never
will
enough,
change
Kyle.
as the guidelines loosen too, of what we're available to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
But yeah,
Kyle,
I'd be happy to support in whatever way, and I'm totally have no clue what you need or.
I will
I'm
keep
here,
you,
so.
I will definitely include you in the loop of our planning.
and Leah Beth and Martin know this, Kyle, but we do have a budget line out of the total that for this type of, and so depending on what you guys decide, it would be within that as well. I mean, I think there's a limit of, well, I think we have 3,000 in there for concerts throughout the summer.
I mean, we can't just go big and spend all the money in the world.
That's everything.
But it does, there are some parameters that obviously could.
Christina, did you want to add from our conversation?
Yeah, so part of the conversation too is, since we're finally, we see events in our future with less COVID restrictions, conversation that Tony and I had even with farmers markets is, figuring out how we're going to offer these events as a city. Obviously, it's a great amenity to have, and I love the direction the CAC is going. I think that's going to add to the farmers markets very well. And be, well received. So Tony's working through some processes that from vendors to sponsors to these farmers markets, and how do we integrate if there's lots of other groups that want to get involved. Is it going to be one big market, or is it going to be multiple little ones throughout the seasons? So we're working through that process. If you hear anything on the street as far as people talking about farmers markets and interest, Tony's your go-to for now, and it's a work in progress. So we're happy to have Tony on this, and she's got a ton of ideas. So look forward to some really great events happening probably later this summer is what we're looking at. It doesn't look like we'll be able to offer anything until the fall. That's big, that's open, fun stuff. Yeah.
I think everybody's ready to flex their fun muscles here.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks, Tony. Thanks, everyone. I appreciate it.
Of course.
Let's move on to the Swedish Horse Project. Can I share I'm going to share my screen, Debbie. I'm trying to think. So, alrighty. All right, can everybody see that? So, Swedish Horse voting is closed. It's officially closed. First I want to say just thanks real quick to Mark Mullis, Vanessa Davis, and Lucia Magnuson. This has been, quite a labor of love for the last couple of weeks. And Mark, I know you have fielded probably, I'm not going to speak for you, but maybe a year's worth of emails in like the last month or so from artists asking questions. So thank you for that. I think the response was just super overwhelming. We got 59 or 60 submissions, largely from people along the Front Range. The designs were incredible, and people had there's a lot of creativity, obviously, but people really thought about like the heritage of the Swedish horses. They thought about Englewood, they thought about Colorado. And so I was just blown away, super impressed. But we do have some winners, and I wanted to share those with everybody here. So the first one was Lindsay Pullman. Hoping that's her last name. I think she was from Englewood, and this was the first, the most voted horse. Tara Marks. This one kind of has like a Colorado motif that's kind of nice and bright and whimsical. Laura Edwards. This looks a lot more like the traditional Swedish horses that you would see like in toy format. Tara Lulk. I hope you guys can see this. Let me see here. This one was really neat. Tara put in like all these little comments here. I don't know if you can read them or not, but all of these little comments and design elements relate somehow back to Englewood. Really thoughtful. Jennifer Chestnut, probably a Colorado sunset or sunrise. Amy Klein, this one's neat, very whimsical, kind of nature inspired. Chelsea Schmock. She gave us columbines and wildlife, very Colorado inspired as well. Anne Venata Gutierrez, very bright and colorful, something kind of different, unique, that's fun. Kelly Mock, kind of a combination of nature and more traditional Swedish horse elements. And then we have a tiebreaker. So this is our last horse. We have 10 total that we are going to be giving to artists to paint, and our 11th was painted by Mayor Olga. So we have that one kind of preserved in Mark, in your garage still. But we have 2 horses that were tied for our last place, and this one on the left, Artist 1, is kind of a 2-sided horse, and it's pretty neat, like kind of reddish on the one side, blue on the other, sort of abstract. And then the second one is by an artist who really embraced the Carnation City, which is what we are in Englewood. And so I don't have, this was not super prepared obviously yet, but I wanted to just take a vote and see what the commission likes. And then we'll announce the artist. So I don't know if there's a good way of doing this other than just maybe like, I don't know, going around. Is that a good way of doing this? Huh?
That's what I was going to suggest. Just go around and ask.
Okay. All right. Well, David, you're the one I see on the top of my screen. Would you like to cast your first vote?
Man, you're going to make me go first, huh? Okay. I think I voted for artist number 2, but in the original, but as I look at all the other artists that we have, one is so different than the others. The artist 1 is so much different than the others that might be. So I'm going to vote for artist number 1.
Thank you. Leah Beth.
I agree with David. I'm going to go with artist number 1.
Great. Kyle.
I was going to go with artist 1.
Wow. All right. That sounds great. Martin.
I like artist number 1 as well.
Okay. And Clarice.
I like artist number 1.
Mark.
Yeah, I think 1 would be for me.
And I was going to vote the same. Did I miss any voting members? All right, well, great. So artist number 1 is Sarah Palmieri. And so we will let her know and all the rest of the artists that they have been selected. And then I have a meeting with Mark Mullis and the rest of some of the city to talk through next steps. But I just wanted to make this kind of a formal announcement because it's been such a fun project and it's been waiting in the wings for so long that I'm glad we're making some progress. But I mean, the artists just did such a phenomenal job. So it was kind of a difficult decision.
Sure.
All right. Yes.
Reese, can you just give us an update? How are we doing on placement? Is that what you're going to have the meeting on, or we're just still, we still need to find some places?
Yeah, so we have a couple of private locations selected for horse placement, just private property.
Private location.
I know. Like Swedish, Craig, a couple others. There have been some concerns over the liability of the horse, whether placing it on their property will transfer the liability to the private entity, or whether there's some way for the city to retain it. And then there's also been just, I would say, an absence of responses from certain individuals that have rendered it difficult to make sure that we can, like, you know, circle back with them and get the location and check all the boxes off for those. So we are considering some backup public spaces that would be in similar locations to where the private ones are now, in the event that, you know, there are some concerns that we can't get over or people just don't respond, quite frankly. So we are, we're probably cross that bridge. I'd like to give it another month to see if we can get our ducks in a row. And if not, we'll just move forward with some public locations around the same areas. So just a reminder, these will start at City Hall basically and go up to Swedish, sort of in that corridor. Most of them are public spaces, but we do have a couple private. So
are we using the previously mapped spaces as a starting point on those locations, or?
Some of them are the previously selected locations. Some of them have been tweaked just a little bit.
I know we walked those like 3 million years ago, so I'm sure someone changed their mind on them.
Yeah, and David and Christina and Maria and Mark and myself walked them too. It seems like ages ago, but last year to really finalize where they were going to be. But you know, this project has been kind of at a standstill for a little while. So I think, you know, our private counterparts have kind of forgotten or turned over. And so it's just kind of re-engaging those relationships that has been kind of a struggle.
Yeah, that sounds good though. I mean, it sounds like we've got a majority of the spaces and we just got to maybe make a couple of different choices, but that's good news to hear. So
yeah.
And do we have, I don't know, maybe you and Mark will still talk about that timeline. So I guess we let the artists know soon, and then we have to get them the horses and some of that still. So we're talking
so
a couple more months.
We're kind of thinking notifying the artists. We have actually called Mark, Vanessa and I on Friday, early next week, let them know they've been selected. And some of the next steps, like when the horses will be either available for pickup. I could probably even help deliver them to people if needed. And then there'll likely be like about a 2-month time frame that we can give the artist to paint. And then, so that puts us like mid-March, April, May, goes back to AMPA for their final coatings. And then we'll coordinate the installation, and hopefully by that point, early summer, some sort of like reception or something nice to celebrate the artists and the art and have a drink and get out.
Yeah,
so
that would be great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for all the work on that.
Yeah,
that's been.
I would also love, just as a side note, love to like help deliver horses. That just sounds like a wonderful job.
Yeah.
Do you have a cowboy hat?
Yeah.
Because you're gonna have to wear it.
That's the uniform. Oh, I got it.
Cheryl.
Thank you. Where my hand? These are amazing, and I feel like the timing of this and what they look like and just the whole background behind CAC's whole planning around this. I mean, they fit so, like this fits brilliantly to where the city's going. And if you have plans in place from City Hall to Swedish, I mean, to me, it totally fits into wayfinding and placemaking. So I'm really excited about it. Just make sure to let us know if you need any support or any kind of help with any of the peripheral details around finding and securing the locations. There may be some, annoying paperwork or decision making. Just let us know, even if you have to text me or someone to get to me quickly, so you can get that done and you don't have any hiccups along the way. But I'm so excited.
Yeah, the gates are open. Thank you guys. Thank you for your support. I appreciate it. All right. I think we're about done here. Where's my, do we have, yeah, thanks, Debbie. Okay, staff's choice, and we'll get out of here hopefully soon. I know some of us have to leave at 7, so Councilmember Week, anything on your end?
No, nothing on my end, but I will follow up. I took copious notes tonight, and I apologize I had my volume off earlier when you took roll call, so I was here, but nothing. Thank you. What a great meeting tonight.
Thank you. Christina, anything on your end?
I'll just second what Councilmember Wink said. Those horses are great. I'm extremely excited to get those out into the community. Nice work.
Thank you. Yep. Mark Mullis.
Here, but thank you for all your help with the horses and then strategizing around some of the logistical aspects of things over the last few weeks.
Yeah. Thank you too again. And Tim Buck, anything else on your end?
No, it was a great meeting. Actually, I will say our Rauschenberg show is closing March 20th. So if any of you haven't seen it and would like to, I would love to host you. Just let me know.
Thank you. And I took some people and it was great. Commissioner's choice. I won't keep us long, but the next meeting I want to put on the agenda is the mushrooms at Romans. I think we're probably in a good spot to start talking about that. So more to come there, but we'll put that on the agenda. Martin, I guess we'll start with you. Anything else on your end?
Nope, nothing on my end.
Great, thank you. Kyle?
Nope, thanks for just getting me up to date on stuff.
Yep, you're welcome. David?
Nope, thank you.
Thanks. Leah Beth?
Nope, all good.
Thank you. Mark Hessling?
No, we're great. Thank you, guys. Good meeting.
Yep, and our new Vice Chair Clarice, anything on your end?
Nope, but I'm super excited. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Good meeting. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a good month.
You too.